Next, we turn our attention to denoising. The first question is, of course, at what point should we start using denoising? I see two main reasons for this. First, to reduce render time. This means I deliberately accept a slight amount of noise and then remove it by denoising. Second, when I have minimal noise despite high settings. I cannot eliminate this remaining noise with the threshold value. Then denoising could be the solution. I activate denoising now. Here we see 4 different algorithms. Let's start with Optics and OIDn. Both are interactive denoisers. This means denoising is done directly in progressive rendering. There are also adjustable parameters for this, but in basic mode these are not available here. Denoising is applied directly in progressive rendering. To show this, I set the progressive passes to 1 and briefly disable denoising. The result shows a noisy image. If I activate denoising, the image is immediately denoised. When I move in the viewport, you can see that the image is continuously denoised. With OIDn, it behaves in the same way. Again, I'm moving in the viewport. The result is identical. But what is the difference between the two? OIDn is noticeably slower than Optics. Another difference, Optics only works with NVIDIA cards, while OIDn is compatible with all cards. Optics does not deliver the quality of OIDn. However, it works much faster than OIDn. Let's perform a render test to see the differences in render time. I set the bucket quality to medium. I briefly turn off denoising and start rendering. I use the Shift and R keys to start rendering. Here is the rendering without the denoiser. This took 9 seconds. With Optics it was 11 seconds. With OIDn it took 42 seconds, significantly longer. Let's take a closer look at the result. Let's zoom in closer to this area. Here's the image without the denoiser. You can see the noise. With Optics, the noise is almost gone, with OIDn as well. At the armchair, viewed without denoiser, and the seat is still quite noisy. With Optics, it appears a bit washed out. However, the noise has been well removed. With OIDn, there is even a bit more detail to be seen. It looks a bit washed out, but that extended the render time. Let's go back. Now let's look at Altus single, starting here. Here we are missing the interactive. Nothing changes at first. Likewise for Altus dual, because the denoising for Altus single and dual occurs after the final bucket rendering. If I now press the button for bucket rendering, the regular rendering starts. After this process, the image is denoised using Altus single. That is, immediately after rendering, another rendering process begins to denoise. And likewise, if I use Altus dual, it is denoised again after denoising, so an additional calculation on top. This results in a better quality. However, also extended render times. Now we render both algorithms. I select Altus single and start the rendering. Then I press Shift and R again. Here we see after the rendering follows another calculation. The result is 16 seconds. For Altus dual, I also start the rendering. I use the picture viewer for this. Let's look at Altus dual. The calculation was performed twice to denoise the image. Altus single took 16 seconds. For Altus dual, it was 25 seconds. Let's zoom in closer. This shows Altus Single. I zoom in closer. You can see the differences between Altus Single and Altus Dual. Clearly more details are visible with Altus Dual. I move further up to the seat. Here is Altus Single again. If you look closely, Single and Dual differ like this. Again, more detail is visible in Dual. I rarely use the redshift denoiser. Instead, I prefer to use an external program. I render so that a slight noise remains. I then remove this interactively in an external program. The program is called Neat Video. It is suitable for video in After Effects, DaVinci Resolve and other applications. For Photoshop or Affinity Photo, there is Neat Image to denoise images. I will now demonstrate this in Affinity Photo. Here is the image I rendered without the denoiser. Now we will activate the plugin. To do that, I will click on the Filter tab, then to Plugins, select Neat Image, Reduce Noise, version 9. A separate window will now open. Keeping it simple now, there are many available settings. The first thing I do is click on Auto Profile. The program analyzes the image automatically in areas highlighted to determine the noise. The determined noise level is 1.3. Now I click on Adjust and Preview. There are many options to adjust the noise. Zooming in for a better look. Now I see a preview of the result. If I disable the preview, I see the original noise. After adjusting the settings, I turn the preview back on. You can see that the noise has been almost completely eliminated. After that, I confirm with Apply. Thereupon, the noise in my image is removed. This works similarly in After Effects. There I can make the adjustments directly and interactively in the toolbar. Those were the basics of removing image noise in basic mode. It often takes some trial and error to decide if you need noise reduction at all, or whether to adjust settings like bucket quality or threshold to get the result you want.